Tonight,
I'd shake and I'd laugh. My leg would go dead.
He was having seizures, which are called gelastic seizures.
He'd have them every day.
an ABC 27 special presentation.
I felt like I wish there was something I could do, but I knew there wasn't.
Brainstorm, sponsored by Penn State Health.
Good evening, I'm Deborah Pinkerton. Neurological disorders affect 25 million people in the United States. The disorders can range from epilepsy to Alzheimer's to multiple sclerosis. So what are the symptoms of a neurological disorder? What tests are done to make the diagnosis? And what treatments are available? We'll answer those questions for you tonight. And if you have questions at home, Denise McCracken is here to tell you how to get them answered. Hi, Denise.
Hi, Deborah. Thank you. Yes, specialists from Penn State Health are here in the ABC 27 call center to answer your questions until about 8 o'clock tonight. You can call the number on the bottom of the screen, or you can email your questions during the show to questions@abc27.com. Doctors Vamsi Jankaputi and Tiffany Fisher will answer your questions through email tonight. All of those calls and emails are confidential. And I'll be back later in the show to share some of those questions with you.
Thank you, Denise. A Lancaster County woman was well aware of multiple sclerosis and its side effects. For Janelle Camacho, MS hit a little too close to home. Here's Janelle's journey.
The eggs are room temperature, which is good.
Janelle Camacho and her 89-year-old grandmother, Dolores Wolf, are baking pies.
We're going to make the lemon sponge pie today.
Grandma rolls the pie crust, makes the pie crust. I do the filling, so we work together.
While the ingredients may be secret, the mission is not.
It's something that my grandmother and I started doing probably 10 plus years ago, I think, and we raised money for multiple sclerosis. Our first order was probably over 100 pies that we did in my house with 2 ovens in 2 days.
They sell homemade pies to raise money for the annual Walk MS.
I want to do all I can to have money going to research. And my goal each year is to earn $15,000.
And there's a reason why Janelle and Dolores are so passionate about this organization.
When I was around 8 years old, my mom was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. It was a pretty crazy time because at that time, no one really knew what multiple sclerosis was.
So multiple sclerosis is MS, and it's actually an autoimmune condition. So it's your immune system that is confused, and instead of attacking bacteria and viruses, it attacks your brain. It attacks the myelin in your brain. And the brain and the spine control everything in your body, so MS patients can have almost any symptom.
I went from a mom that used to do all the cooking and cleaning and get us up for school and make our breakfast to that wasn't happening, especially when she was having a really bad day.
It was a hard time, and the children were at an age where it was so hard for them.
Actually, her mother had MS at a time when there were no treatments, and then we were still learning about treatments, and we really didn't know about lifestyle things. So her mother really struggled.
Janelle's mother lived with MS for 30 plus years. During that time, Janelle got married, had 3 children, and was doing well until one day.
I was 31, and one morning I just woke up and my whole left arm, my left breast, and all the way down my back was completely numb. And didn't know why.
Janelle turned to her family doctor for answers.
He said, hey, maybe it is pinched nerve. Let's get some tests and figure out what it is. The doctor called on a Saturday morning, and I think when doctors call on a Saturday morning, it's never good news. I was sitting on my side of my bed, and he said, I think you might have MS from your MRI, and I was like, what? Like, I literally almost fell off my bed because I just thought, this can't be happening.
More tests confirmed Janelle had MS.
Replayed everything that happened to my mom when she was diagnosed and how much time she spent in the hospital and how crazy it was for us as kids. And my kids were even younger than I was when my mom was diagnosed, so they completely won't understand what's going on.
I think she called me before she called her mother. I think she called me when she got the phone call from the doctor. And I thought, this can't be.
We got on her treatment regimen early. We incorporated strong medications and lifestyle changes, and she's done amazing. And she's learned that MS today in the 2000s is much different than it was in the 80s and 90s. And you can sort of live a full, healthy lifestyle with MS.
I'm actually on my 3rd medication now. They've come out with oral medicine that I now take a pill instead of injections, which is a blessing. I've been on that 5+ years now.
Oh, I think she's doing great. I often say, I don't know how she keeps up with the things that she does and is able to keep going.
I feel good. I'm doing well, I'm working full-time, I'm taking my medicine daily, so I'm doing good.
Medications that are changing the face of MS. So now Janelle and Dolores use their energy to help others.
Grandma alone has raised over $300 and some $1,000. Me probably over $10,000 over the many years that we've been walking.
I feel that maybe in some small way I've helped them to learn about one special medicine anyhow. So I want to do all I can so that they finally find a cure.
And currently there are 17 medications to treat MS. Another 2 therapies are expected to be approved by next year. And joining us right now is Dr. Gary Thomas, Director of the Comprehensive MS Program at Penn State Health. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
How do you get MS? We talked about it a little bit in Janelle's piece, but what does it do to your body?
We actually don't know exactly what triggers MS. We know there's things that put you at risk, family history, vitamin D deficiency, but it's an autoimmune problem. And the immune system of MS patients is healthy, but instead of just attacking infections, it attacks their brain and their spinal cord. And because it does that, it can cause damage that gives disability and symptoms.
And that's what I wanted you to tell us more about, the symptoms.
Just like Janelle, there's a variety of symptoms. There's numbness, there's weakness, sometimes there's memory problems or fatigue. Some people have difficulty walking, some people have difficulty with vision. Each patient is very unique, and the symptoms each patient has can be very unique to each patient.
Now, Pennsylvania is the 3rd leading state in the nation for MS cases, not something you want to be that popular in.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I think two reasons. One is vitamin D deficiency. So we have less sunlight than a Florida or a Texas, but then also Penn State is a large state, so we have a lot of population, and so we have a large population of MS patients as well.
You have a very collaborative program at Penn State Health. What should patients look for when they're looking for a doctor?
I think that they should look for an MS specialist. There's so many treatments now, and they're a little bit complicated, so it's important to have somebody who has experience with all of the treatments that are available, and also the lifestyle recommendations that we know are helpful to MS patients. So exercise and nutrition and vitamin D. We're looking at other vitamins like biotin as well. And the MS centers can provide that sort of comprehensive approach.
And that sort of leads us into research. How important is research?
Oh gosh, research is very important. We need to understand the disease better, what triggers it, how it works, and that's how we come up with new treatments. And there's been an explosion from the 90s when there were no treatments to today where there's 17. We expect 1 or 2 for the next couple of years to be approved. And the more we learn, the more our treatments we can make are better and better.
And of course, the treatments are really helping Janelle. And speaking of Janelle, she is here and she wants to join us. She has something for you.
Oh, Janelle, thank you so much.
So yeah, thank you so much for all you do for the MS community.
Oh,
it's very appreciative.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I give you a hug?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And
your pies are legendary.
Yes, they're legendary and they are delicious.
Thank you.
Thank you both for being here tonight. We certainly appreciate that. And if you would like to make an appointment with Penn State Health Neuroscience Institute, you can call this number 866-305-3687. Now let's check in with Denise McCracken in the ABC 27 call center. Seems busy. How are the specialists doing in there, Denise?
Thanks, Deborah. As you can hear, the specialists are busy on the phones. We're getting lots of calls tonight. You can call 717-346-3333 888-888-3333. And here to answer our viewer questions tonight is Dr. Ray Bacharach, neurologist at Penn State Neuroscience Institute. Here's our first viewer question. I have MS. I was told to keep a journal of my symptoms and moods for my physician. Is this helpful as part of my treatment plan?
I think that's a great idea and something that I sometimes recommend to my patients. If you're seeing your neurologist only once in a while, once every few months, it can be hard to remember all the symptoms that you've had during that time and try to summarize it for your physician. So keeping a log and something that you can refer to during your appointment is a great idea.
Let's take a look at our next viewer question. I have MS and my daughter's wedding is coming up next month. Do you have any tips that can help me manage my disease and enjoy the day?
So it's important to follow your doctor's treatment plan for you. If you're on a medication for MS, you don't want to miss any doses leading up to that wedding. One thing to keep in mind as we're heading into the warmer season is that a lot of our patients with MS, their symptoms can get worse when they get overheated. So going to the wedding and leading up to it, it's important to stay cool to help your symptoms from getting any worse.
Those are some great tips. Thank you, doctor. If you have a question for a specialist, you can call or you can email your question at questions@abc27.com. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're watching Brainstorm on ABC 27, sponsored by Penn State Health.
Welcome back. A Dauphin County man lived with seizures for most of his life. For Gary Shopper, it was an everyday occurrence until doctors at Penn State Health had a suggestion. Here's Gary's journey. Gary Shopper doesn't have a care in the world, and he's happy about that. For 62 years, he dealt with seizures every day.
They started actually from childbirth, but they really didn't manifest themselves, come out until about, I'd say, 3.
He would just start laughing. Nothing was said to him or anything, but he would just laugh. And it wouldn't take, he wouldn't laugh for like minutes. It would be just a few seconds, and he'd stop, and then he'd be done with that.
19 of Gary's seizures were caught on tape at Penn State Health's Epilepsy Monitoring Unit.
I'd shake and I'd laugh a little bit. My leg would go dead. All the time, my right leg used to go dead.
He was having seizures which are called gelastic seizure. When you have that type of seizures, people have this episodes of laughter which are uncontrolled, which are sudden, and they last for a few seconds to few minutes, and they come out of nowhere. They could happen when a person is just sitting.
He'd have them every day. Some days he'd have, 6 of them. The next day he might have 2.
When I was getting seizures, I had them controlled under medication, but the medication doped me up.
He was quite frustrated, to be honest, because despite taking these medications don't come without side effects. They hurt your liver and they make person lethargic.
I felt like I wish there was something I could do, but I knew there wasn't.
After watching Gary's seizures, the neurology team knew something had to be done.
The location of his lesion was unique, and we could not do traditional epilepsy surgery. It wasn't something that we see and we take out. So he needed a different type of surgery.
The official name is LIT, which is laser interstitial thermocoagulation or thermal ablation. We usually just refer to it laser ablation, but it's basically using laser heat to ablate or destroy some abnormal tissue. And that can be epileptic tissue, it can be tumors, but it's using laser heat to cause destruction.
He said it's a new procedure, and he said, I'm not gonna kid you. There's no 100% guarantee, or anything, but he said you stand a real good chance of other than the other procedures that they had. He said this is a better one, I think.
He says, well, what do you think? And I said, well, it's probably best to try it, and if it don't work, it doesn't work.
I was a little bit scared, and he put me at ease. He told me, what it was about, you know, before I had it done.
And there's really two operative parts. The first part is actually getting the laser fiber into the brain, and that's done in the operating room. This black linear structure that you see going down is the laser fiber itself, and so we're about 9 centimeters in from the top of the skin, which is up here, down into the lesion itself, or the hamartoma right there. The second part is actually ablating the lesion using the laser fiber heat, and we do that down in the MRI suite.
A treatment that changed Gary's life.
He certainly did fix it. He really did a good job, because I haven't had any problems since.
Since he had the surgery, there was no more seizures. And I know he was glad for it, because, I mean, he lived all those years with having seizures.
It's amazing what it did for me. I can't say enough about it.
It has made a huge difference. I would worry about him when he would lay down and, you know, wake up and then have a seizure right away. And now all I hear is him snoring. So I was just glad it worked.
I feel great. I was afraid to do a lot of stuff, you know, because I might get a seizure, you know. Don't hesitate to do anything now.
Now, since the seizures have stopped, Gary finally has his driver's license, so a very exciting time for him. Joining us right now are both of his doctors, Dr. Vinita Acharya and neurosurgeon Dr. Michael Sather. Thanks for being with us. Dr. Acharya, I never heard of this type of seizure before. How did you know that this was epilepsy?
That's a great question. Not everybody who laughs is having a seizure, but in his case, we had a couple of clues. His seizures would arise suddenly and sometime even out of his sleep. He did have some feelings, auras prior to his seizures. He also had some generalized tonic-clonic, what we call grand mal seizures. And in the process, we did his MRI that showed a lesion. And the lesion was what we call hypothalamic hamartoma. And in that case, these seizures are common. But it was not until we did his video EEG monitoring and confirmed that we knew these were gelastic seizures.
And what are some types or signs and symptoms of epilepsy?
Great. So symptoms and signs of epilepsy basically are recurrent seizures, and recurrent seizures, how they manifest depends on how much part of the brain is involved and what part, and they can present as shaking with or without loss of consciousness, sometimes just stare and unresponsiveness, lip smacking movements, and sometimes we get very unusual symptoms like strange smells or even laughter, like in this case.
And Dr. Sather, this surgery made a huge difference for Gary. What other surgical procedures are out there to help patients with epilepsy?
Yeah, good question. Well, the great news is there are a lot of surgical options now that we have available that we didn't have in the past. Of course, we have resection and ablation like Gary had, and he did very well with that. The goal of that is seizure freedom. We also have neurostimulation, which is using neurological stimulation of the brain typically, but also of some nerves to try and decrease seizures. And that we can do that very successfully with vagus nerve stimulation, deep brain stimulation, responsive neurostimulation, so many different types of stimulation out there.
Yeah, and talk to us more about deep brain stimulation.
So what's interesting about deep brain stimulation, or DBS, is it's been out for decades. It's been out since the 60s and 70s. It's been used successfully for the treatment of Parkinson's disease symptoms and tremors. But really, it's only been about 1.5 years since it's been approved by the FDA for the treatment of epilepsy. So we now have a new treatment that's been shown to improve seizures by reducing that by about 60 to 70%.
And Dr. Acharya, what makes your program unique?
So basically, we are a level 4 center. That's the highest it can get in terms of any center. What it means is we take only very complex cases and we use a multidisciplinary approach. So patients not only get their neurologist and neurosurgeon, but it's a whole team which includes neuropsychiatrists, neuropsychologists, EEG technologists, and imaging specialists.
And everyone's working together under one roof.
One roof, yes.
Dr. Acharya, Dr. Sather, thank you both for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And if you would like to make an appointment with Penn State Neuroscience Institute, this is the number to call, 866-305-3687. And let's go back to the ABC 27 call center. Denise?
Thanks, Deborah. Well, you still have a few minutes to get your questions in. You can call 717-346-3333. The phone lines are open until 8 o'clock. Now, if the phone lines are busy, you can email your question during the show to questions@abc27.com. And joining us now is Dr. Acharya, neurologist at Penn State Neuroscience Institute. Let's go to our next viewer question. If I have epilepsy, can I still do normal activities like drive a car and play sports?
The good news is that you can drive a car and play sports, but there are certain restrictions. Let's start with driving. The restrictions vary from state to state. In Pennsylvania, patients are allowed to drive as long as they have not had a seizure for the preceding 6 months. But there are a couple of situations when even this restriction can be waived. For instance, if someone has established a pattern of having only nighttime seizures for 2 years, or if someone has a consistent warning or an aura before their seizures, the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation may sometimes allow such patients to drive. With regard to sports, again, we actively encourage our patients to both exercise and to play most sports as long as their seizures are well controlled and they use common sense and appropriate precautions. Nevertheless, some sports are probably best avoided, such as hang gliding or parachuting or scuba diving.
Sure, wonderful. Well, I thank you so much for answering our questions tonight. And I do have one more viewer question for you. This viewer says, I understand hormonal changes in women can cause more seizures. How can I control this?
The viewer is absolutely right. Hormonal changes can often cause seizures in women, particularly in relation to their menstrual cycles. There is actually a specific term for this called catamenial epilepsy. So most women report an increase in seizures shortly before or at the time of their menstrual periods. Sometimes they also have increased seizures mid-cycle at the time they ovulate. And this can be controlled in various ways. One is to use a progesterone preparation, either orally or intramuscularly. Another way is to increase the dose of their anti-seizure medicines at those times. And lastly, another medication such as diazepam or lorazepam can be used at those times.
Wonderful. Thank you again for joining us tonight. Thanks also to the specialists who are here tonight answering your calls. Back to you, Deborah.
Thank you, Denise. Well, you can't find your glasses and you walk into your living room and you're thinking, why did I just walk into the living room? I know this stuff happens to me. Joining us right now is Dr. Charles Duffy, Director of the Memory and Aging Program at Penn State Health. I know this means you're aging, but when should you go see a doctor?
Well, occasional lapses, as you describe, are very common in normal, healthy brain aging. But if it becomes a pattern, if it starts to interfere with your daily life, then you do want to have a medical evaluation.
Now, I know memory loss doesn't always mean Alzheimer's. What is the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia?
Alzheimer's disease is the most common cause of dementia in the United States, but dementias can be a variety of different illnesses, which is why a focused evaluation is important for deciding what's going on and what we should do about it.
Talk to me about the signs and the symptoms.
Well, the major signs that most people notice early on are difficulties finding words and difficulties finding their way, having difficulties finishing a sentence or knowing what to say next, and having difficulties remembering how to get from one place that you're familiar with to another place.
Talk to me about medications. One, can medications help treat this initially?
Yes, there are important new medications that can help with all of the dementias, including Alzheimer's disease, that can reduce the symptoms and give people a chance to do all the things that they want to do and that can help them do well for longer.
Okay. Talk to me about research. I mean, that is certainly great news, but how does research help in this?
Well, research is an important part of what we do at Penn State Medical Center. It is both our way of moving forward to develop new treatments and our way of understanding the disease. And importantly, the people who must take part for this to work are the patients who have the disease, particularly the early stages of disease, who can make a unique, important contribution to their own treatment and to the treatment of the coming generations.
If someone does make an appointment, what can they expect?
Well, when you come, we will be ready for you. We will be interested in seeing you. You'll undergo a full evaluation, which is both a medical, clinical, neurological evaluation, a neuropsychological evaluation, and also some testing, blood testing, brain imaging testing, to get a full picture of what's happening so that we can sit down together and come to a good understanding of where you are and where things might be going and what we can do to help you.
And then how often do you see them?
Well, it depends on the individual. Sometimes we want to see people every couple of months, other times every 6 months. But in general, we want to keep in touch. And so one of the things is, number one, we will schedule regular appointments. And number two, you can call us to connect with us to tell us if something is changing, if something is going wrong.
That is great news. Thank you so much, Dr. Duffy, for all this information. And we also want to thank you, our viewers, for sharing your stories and sending in your questions. If you would like more information, or if you would like to schedule an appointment with Penn State Neuroscience Institute, this is the number to call, 866-3053-687, or visit online at hmc.pennstatehealth.org/neurology. Thanks for joining us. Have a good evening.